Good morning.
Good
We've been
morning.
a little technical difficulties. Thanks everybody for they're already there waiting for us. Let me get the show rolling on my phone. Hold on. We gotta see them comments because they're gonna be good. Join. Okay. Here we go.
It's like I have a halo. This new office, my new home. And it's like my desk is backwards. So I'm like literally sitting at my desk. It's completely backwards because I haven't been in my office yet. And I've got this fluorescent bulb light thing like right here. That like
Morning.
and then I was getting ready and I couldn't find anything because I hadn't put makeup on. Or I don't have any on now because I couldn't find it because I hadn't used it since I moved on Friday. So anyway, yeah, here I am. You're lucky I'm dressed.
It's fun. You're a champ. It does not. It could be all, other messes because we've been there, right? Good things to laugh about. Did you get your tea this morning? I mean, did you even get that? Do I need to chitty chat while you make some tea?
That's a good idea. Yes. Hold on a second. I'll grab that.
We're not kidding here. Y'all. Oh my goodness. So we had a little challenge this morning. And of course, it's just like the video working and this, that, and the other thing. But it's the best person to have here with me. Well, that's kind of not here at the moment, with me, but to go through this. And good morning, Sherry. Oh, 4 cups of coffee, 3 cups, 4. No, that's plenty. That's good. I'm with you. Good to see you, Yolanda. Yes, yes, yes. Good morning, everybody. Aw, y'all are wonderful. If I haven't told you, definitely for coming and visiting with us. Yeah. So
All right.
Kathy just moved a week ago, y'all, and close to the New Orleans area, and so went through this big move. So of course, I put her on the spot and told her she had to come back. I've had personal requests to have Kathy back, and we don't care. We could talk all day, y'all. So that's a fact.
I mean, so far all I've been talking to is contractors and movers, so it's nice to actually talk to real people.
One way or the other.
Yeah.
This is real as we get, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I told everybody good morning, and let me see if I can actually. I've got to while you're stirring your. Let me. I gotta see my. Okay. Good morning, Shauna. She's on here. Good to see you, lovely ladies, this morning. So we were talking after the last show, and we were talking about more things we wanted to talk about. Well, of course, I'm rambling now. And one of them was about how uh, chemo brain. Oh, yeah, maybe that's what's going on.
Yeah.
We have a permanent excuse, like it just does. But we were talking about how the what that really does and kind of how it hits productivity. And I think some of it also is about how do you grapple with that, and how do you acknowledge it, and then just keep on keeping on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we wanted to talk about that, and I didn't have a specific question for you based on that, more than like you've had enough years to have a perspective on this, and we talk about it quite often together. But give me the highlights on your thoughts.
Sorry, I didn't. Anyway, sorry, I got something going on with my hair. So sometimes I wonder. So my thoughts about chemo brain is very interesting because you and I have had this discussion. I feel like I've always been a very distracted person in general. I've always had multiple interests, and my focus hasn't always been really specific unless I'm down to a deadline. I've been that way my entire life. If I have a deadline, like I'll procrastinate to the last minute, and then I'm like super hyper focused, and I always get it done. And I hate the fact that I do that because it is very stressful. But at the same time, I'm like super productive in that 24, 48, 72 hours before a deadline, which is so interesting. And I'm very effective, and I'm like all the things I wish I could be just sooner. So I've always been that way, but it feels like since chemo and the whole idea of chemo brain, it's been heightened even more, right? And hi, Yolanda. It's good to see you too. So it's just been heightened a great deal since then. Like I notice it a whole lot more. And of course, now I'm seeing a whole lot of stuff about ADHD. And, I have not been diagnosed with it. But if you look at all the symptoms, I have them all. Right. And I'm not going to go to a doctor to have them tell me, diagnose me with something else and give me medicine for something else. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not saying if you have the same thing, you shouldn't do it, but I'm not going to the doctor yet. But I swear I have it. But I don't know if chemo brain and ADHD are related. Like, does chemo cause more ADHD symptoms, or have I always had ADHD and the chemo's brought it out more, or has my age brought it out more? I don't know, but I'm a mess. It's all I'm gonna say. I'm a mess.
I can vouch for that. That is not exactly how I thought that question would be answered, but hey, we're good.
Well, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you thought it would be answered.
I oh my gosh. Okay. I think it it was worse at the very it was really, really tough at the, like at the onset of it, I would say. And that I think flipped right into like the first after the maybe midway through the strong chemo. And then it just became more noticeable that at that point there were times that I could hear or see the word in my head, but nothing wanted to come out of my mouth, like just, and you're trying to go, I know what a chair is, but it doesn't want to like come out of my mouth. So I think that was really, really, really noticeable. It was heightened. It seemed, it was kind of scary because it's like, wow, is this what they were talking about with chemo brain? I used to think I had some kind of smarts up there, and they got blocked off. So I think it's taken a long time, years, for it to be much better in a sense of just not as bad as that was, right? Not as bad as that was originally, but to the point of I feel more, I still stay or feel like more scattered than I was before. And I don't think I was like too scattered, but I don't know, like you said, if it's an age denial. Can't be. But that's not possible.
Yes, not at all.
So if it's not that, then I do think that there's remnants of that. I think there's things that they still don't have the full findings at the end of the day to really know longevity wise, because I feel like it's like of non-importance many times to the medical field. They're not gonna spend money on that because they're like, oh, it barely even got recognized for years as even something that was real. They called that just as a phenomenon instead of a real thing. So, but I think, especially if you recognize that you had those kind of tendencies of that, now you're trying to rush and running into a wall with those thoughts or those processes, and how bad was that to challenge your ability to be productive or to get things done? Do you feel like you're extremely slowed down, or did you make a lot of mistakes?
Um, you know, it's interesting what you were just saying, because I did forget about those moments where you, like you said, like you'd see a chair and you knew it was a chair, but you couldn't verbalize that it was a chair. Like I totally had that, especially during the chemo days for sure. And it's very interesting because, again, after you go through chemo, a lot of people will just say, it's done, it's over, move on, you know. But when you're coming out of this, everyone seems to think that chemo brain is just an excuse, and that it's not really real. And but for those that are living
Yeah.
with it, it's very very real. But you know what I think has happened with me is my ability to handle stress is not as great as it was before. And that
Mm.
ability to not be able to handle stress affects my focus and all of those things that make me unproductive. Right. And it seems like now the littlest things kind of set me into this anxious mode. Uh,
Mm.
so my problem with productivity is more of a motivation thing, and a focus thing, right, than it is anything else. Um, and I think it's the lack of focus that creates this lack of motivation, right? And
Mm.
so my ability to focus when I have this anxiety is really bad. And it hasn't, I mean, it's obviously gotten much better since, but it's just something that has just been ongoing and just doesn't seem to go away, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it does make sense. What do you feel like I mean, what kind of things have you done, do you feel like has helped you just kind of manage that? I mean, do you have to take medication? Do you have to do anything for anxiety now because of that conflict?
Um, I've always kind of struggled with anxiety to some degree. And, but prior to chemo, I hadn't had to take any anxiety medication for like 10 or 15 years. So it was when I was, because I was going through chemo when I was 38. So in my early 20s, I really struggled with anxiety. And so then after chemo, and all the surgeries, I of this anxiety started coming back, and my ability to handle it was just shot. So they gave me some Xanax, and just only a few pills, right? And because now they don't hardly ever give that out. And they
Yeah.
gave
Yeah.
me, I forget the name of it, another and it's like the most minimal amount of
Yeah.
anxiety drug, whatever it is. So like it's like a half of a milligram. And
Mm.
so when I really feel my anxiety getting out of control, I will take one of those just once, and it just kind of even keels me enough to catch
Yeah.
my breath, right? But
Uh-huh.
for the most part, I don't like taking medication unless I absolutely have to. But meditation, which is something that's been very difficult for me, when I can do it and do it well, it really helps me. But doing it well and keeping a consistent schedule is not good. But I've actually brought this out because ginkgo biloba is
Uh-huh.
something that really helps me. I notice a difference
Mm.
when I actually take this.
Oh.
But again, your routines and consistency. I don't take this every day because I always put it away and don't think about it. So that, and then this, surprisingly, um, I don't know if you ever heard of Kajava before, but I
No.
always saw these ads, and this is quite expensive, unfortunately. They were just running a deal, which is why I got it. But I might just order it because it's worth it. So they have this matcha, um,
Uh-huh.
and this is like it's all vegan, vegetable, protein type of things, like all these superfoods in it.
Yeah.
And it's a natural caffeine because I typically stay away from caffeine. But
Mm-hmm.
this stuff is really good. Like when it comes to focus, I'll take this and I'm like super focused after drinking it.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. Send them a note and let them know that we sponsored there.
I know. We'll get you some because it's like $2 a bag. Wait, take a screenshot.
That's awesome. And then we have a luxury car.
Lord knows, that whole influencer thing. I don't think I could ever do one.
We would influence bad behavior.
Exactly right.
Oh my.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. And then a nap at 9 p.m.
So how about you? How do you deal with productivity and focus? Because I know, like, when we get together, sometimes we're like, what was I saying? And like we finish each other's sentences. But
yes, we do. And that's amazing. We do have like a great unique friendship of that I feel like most people don't even know that we have words that actually happen. We just didn't have to put them out there into the space.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
Yep. Got it. Go on. Yeah. Anything as far as from a supplement side, except that I actually started taking this stuff called beef liver in capsule because, but it was supposed to give you energy and things like that. But I will say that it actually, I'm kind of digging it. But that's just recently. Yeah. So, of course, I know I listened to somebody's podcast. I don't know. Who knows? It's like, oh, breathe air. Oh, okay. But, I think what I do is a lot of writing lists down. And not that always helps me get it done, but it helps me kind of remember all the things I'm trying to do because, I have my hand in a lot of different things that aren't even related, from jobs and volunteer work and all the things. So I really have to kind of bring that together. Unfortunately, I can't even keep that in one notebook. I keep a few notebooks, but at least I feel good about it, right? So they go along with me, and I use my phone for my reminders. And the other thing is like just trying to get a decent amount of sleep. And water. So like we're having connection issues. Is like if I stay hydrated, I actually feel like I function better. But I don't know. If I didn't have lists, I would, I'd be like, I'll be back in a minute, and I'd be over doing laundry and you'd be sitting here still. So,
That's me.
And 5 minutes later, I'd be like, wait, so, and I've had that happen with the boiling water and things like that. But most of the time, that list helps. So,
yeah, being able to find the list is the problem. Like I'll write a list down, and then it's like, what did I do with the list? It's like I need a list for my list. Like I'm a total list maker. Like when my brain gets overwhelmed, I'll write everything down.
Yeah.
But you know what I actually started doing is I put my list in my phone now because I always have my phone and I'll know where it is. So I will create my list in my phone because even though I'm a very kinesthetic person, tactile person, to write it down helps my brain. But if it's something that's really, really important, I put it in my phone because otherwise, I know myself, I'll lose the lists and, who knows where it goes. So it's just so interesting. And beef liver. I'm still stuck on the beef liver.
I gotta remember where I heard that, and I was like, "What? Energy? What? I might lose a pound? Okay, I'll take it
Oh my God.
if I don't have to eat it." Oh,
Yeah.
but anyways, I checked some other studies about it, and, it definitely, has it's just a lot of nutrients, right? I mean, if you're I'm not getting into the vegan and the beef and the this and the that, but, it's whatever works for you.
Oh, yeah.
But some people are, process meat better than others, and other people process vegetables better and all the things. So, anyways, I jumped on that, and I feel like it's making a difference. I don't think it's like overnight making a difference, but even from a from an eating standpoint, a little bit of what is it? Satiety. I'm going to say this word wrong. Um, feeling full
Yeah. Guys,
with eating, not like it's not like I can just starve. So, but yeah, yeah.
the other thing,
So when you were
um,
go,
go ahead.
no, I was going to ask you. So, like, when you get up, you give presentations, you speak at engagements for Herdy, you talk in front of a huge group of people there, the vice presidents, the companies, and all that, and you just sashay up there like it's nobody's business, and you got it all going on up there. And we know, I know there's a lot of practice behind the scenes, but does that help you in some sense because it's like a micro event, right? You're just standing there, you're captured in time, you've got, some notes of what you're speaking about, right? Does it help you feel focused in that moment? It's a strange moment, right? You're in front of a crowd, but how do you feel about that and your ability to, focus and
I don't think I would have
be
ever
productive?
thought in a million years if you'd asked me this like 5 years ago. Hold on, let me shut this door. If I would enjoy public speaking, I would say more like 10 years ago, I would have said no. But I absolutely love public speaking. I love it. I don't know why, because it always, or I shouldn't say always, it used to create a lot of anxiety, right? Getting up in front of people and talking. But, a couple things I do with that because I feel like I'm very much an ambivert, right? So I can be super extroverted or I can be super
Uh-huh.
introverted, right? So I can be both. So I could be super extroverted, but then after a few days of that, like during our conferences, that's when I go
Hmm.
into my introverted mode, right? I just, hole away and don't talk to anybody. But the that energy that I get from being in front of people, it's almost peaceful. It's so hard to explain, but I have to work myself up to that point because and how I do that is like before I speak, I am a preparer. Like I will write and rewrite a speech and all the things I want to say. Like I have to write it all down. Everything I would want to say, I write it down. I read it a few
Hmm.
times, but then it's like I get to a moment where I say, there's nothing more I can do to prepare. Like whatever happens is going to happen. And it's the same thing like preparing for the conferences. I think I've told you this. I get to a point like the night before it starts, I'm like, I've done everything I could to prepare for this. So whatever is going to happen is going to happen, and I can't change any of it. Right. And then it's like this sense of peace comes over me. So, like, literally, right before I walk up to speak, it's like my brain goes, okay, you've done everything you need to do, you're ready. And it's like this sense of peace comes up. And then I never use my notes when I talk, ever. I mean, occasionally, if there's like one point or something I absolutely don't want to forget, um, I will, but for the most part, I'll get up and I just speak from the heart. It's like my brain goes, you know this, you got this.
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
it's like a sense of peace comes over me and I'm good. But it takes a lot of energy to get to that point. It takes my brain, my body, whatever, still feels like it needs to it's I guess maybe it's just from the school days where you just prepare for a deadline and you just dig in and stay super focused on it. And then when it came time, just like when a test is when you're doing a test, it's like right before I take a test, I'm like, okay, if I feel like I've prepared enough for it, I'm like, whatever's going to happen happens, right? And then that super focus makes me remember everything. I don't know. It's so bizarre. Does that answer your question? It probably.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love it. I love it because I think what you're using is that energy and that all of that everywhere and just putting it right into exactly what you need at that time. And it sounds like you also recognize, and I've seen you do it, you recognize when the downtime has to happen. And that doesn't mean like you're tired or it means you have to get a little quiet time, right? So you can do a little energy renewal from the people standpoint because you've expended it. You've shook hands, said hi, laughed and all the good things. And it's time to just be quiet for a little while.
Yeah, and that's another thing
And
that becomes a problem with family and friends. When family and friends don't understand that piece of it, they get really upset that you kind of go dark, so to speak, because they're used to that, constant, because I go back and forth. I have this constant connection. I'm really involved. And then all of a sudden I'm like, peace out for a little while. And it's like, for whatever reason, it freaks my family and friends out. Like, where have you been? I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks. And I'm like, 2 weeks? Come on, man. It's
yeah,
only been two
yeah,
weeks. I think you're
yeah.
one of my very few friends that get, if I don't respond to a text right away, I will.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
just sometimes I just don't, because
yeah.
I'm overloaded, and so it does cause some rifts with family and friends who don't quite understand that piece of it. And even if I try to explain it to them, they still don't quite
They don't get it.
understand it. So
Yeah, yeah. And hey, guess whose problem that is? You know,
mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm glad that you protect your own peace and ability to still do that, regardless of a little bit of gruff from those family and friends that don't quite get it,
Right.
and you give them grace by still being in their lives as well, even though they don't get it. We don't get 100% of everybody, right? So, but it's good that you have that capability to recognize it for yourself and what you need. And I think that's what's important is to take that time. Man, we could keep going and going.
Oh my
I've had,
gosh.
I've had a little coffee.
Okay. Yeah, next time I make my tea, though, I'll make it with hot water.
What did you do?
Well,
Put
I have
tap water in it?
like a little kettle to
Uh-huh.
heat water, and so I heated the water while I was getting my tea out, and while I was trying to figure out where I put the tea, and then I thought it was done, and it wasn't. So it was like lukewarm. Not that I mind, because I don't actually drink my tea when it's piping hot. I'll wait for it to cool down.
Yep.
So normally I drink it lukewarm anyway. So
Right.
because I forget I had it. That's the problem. Oh, but let me tell you this funny story. So I have a story to
Okay.
tell you about my AirPods. I think this is
Okay.
funny. You may not find it as funny as I did, but I think it's funny. But with the move and everything, this happened maybe 2 weeks ago. But I was in that mode where I had so much on my mind because I had all the things we had to do for the move, and we talked about anxiety. And when I have super anxiety, I am very forgetful about things. Like, I do the weirdest things. And here's an example. Um, and this is when I knew I needed to take my anxiety medication. So first of all, I went and visited my dad for a few days, and I don't know what had happened. I must have, the case must have come open, and it dropped one of my AirPods out. And so I'm on my way to the airport, and he calls me. He's like, "Oh, I found it. I'm going to mail it to you." I'm like, "Great." So I do run occasionally, and I started running, but I haven't because of the move. But that particular
Yeah.
day, I had gone for a run. I had the one AirPod I was using, and I remember sitting in my vehicle. I remember taking it out of my ear, but then, 2 days later, when I go for another run, I can't find my AirPods at all. Like the case, the AirPod, none of it. So I was like, man, did I remember taking it out of my ear, but I don't remember if it was sitting in my lap. Maybe I dropped it in the parking lot. Like I went and I go down this rabbit hole. So I even have a Ring camera. This is how bad it is. I have a Ring camera. So I'm watching myself on the camera coming in. I'm like, oh, I have them in my pocket. Like I can see them. They're in my pocket. So I'm like, okay, they must be in the house. I obviously didn't lose them in the parking lot. They're in the house. So I'm like tearing the house up. I cannot find them. Day goes by and I'm like, oh man, I lost these. And my dad's sending me the other one, and I don't even have the case or anything. So now I'm kind of bummed that I lost it. So I go into the bathroom and I go to get my brush out. And this sounds silly because I don't always use this particular brush. But that day I use this particular brush. I open up the drawer, go to pull out the brush. There's the AirPods sitting in the bottom of the drawer. Like a brush I don't even hardly use sitting in this random drawer. Like, what in the world? What was I doing that this AirPod case ended up in this random drawer? I thought I'd find them in the refrigerator or something, but just some very random drawer. They had run out of juice. I couldn't even, ping them, to find them. They just, I
Yeah.
don't even know what I was doing in that drawer. Like why would they end up there? But anyway, I thought it was really funny because I was just like, okay, it's almost
You're probably glad it wasn't a salad. Like, where'd I put my salad?
oh,
Oh, it's in my brush drawer.
there was a big laugh because this weekend I was kind of like that. And I'd wander around the house, forget where I put my drink or where I put my food, and we're all like, "Oh God, I'm gonna find it somewhere underneath a bed somewhere or something." Like, but I feel like I think, and I don't know what everyone's beliefs are on this, but I do feel like sometimes God uses those opportunities to kind of teach me something, right? And I do remember sitting there going, okay, obviously, and this is before I even found them. I'm like, obviously, I'm at a point where I need to take care of myself and I need to figure out this anxiety thing because they're somewhere in the house, but I don't remember where I put them, and I just need to slow down. They're going to show up, and I had to talk myself off the cliff, so to speak, and think to myself, okay, they're going to show up. You need to stop worrying about that. It's such a minor thing that you've gotten yourself all overworked on that you just need to let it go because they will show up. You're packing a house, you're going to unpack everything, you're going to find them. So just relax and stop worrying about it. And I swear, once I stopped worrying about it, like I felt like I was losing sleep over these stupid AirPods. Right. But the next morning I had
Yeah.
woken up and I felt good. I'm like, all right, I'll find them whenever I find them. Like I felt like I had let it go. And then it's like all of a sudden I open this drawer and they're in this random place. So I do
Yeah.
feel like there's moments that are very teachable moments,
Mhm.
right? And you just have to be aware of those moments and
Yeah.
actually take the lesson that it's teaching you. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
I 100% track with you on that. Yeah. Yeah. You kind of got to set in it. And the more you get spun up, especially from a worry point, it can, really absorb what you need of energy to use in other places. And, when you acknowledge and yeah, it's not a religion thing of more of that saying of like, give it to God, or, some people say the universe. I'm a proponent of God, but, if you can do that, sometimes, if it's an extraordinary stressful thing, I may have to write it down so it kind of like gets out of the mind to the paper for a little while. It doesn't leave me, but it kind of sits there, because it may be something I can't solve, deal, or manage at that time, but that's helped. But I love that you took the time to figure out, like, okay, it's not worth all this worry and anxiety and stress. And it's funny because I think it takes a little while for us to always recognize that point, right? We still do the anxiety, the worry, and the stress, and then go, wait a minute. This is not life or death today. This is AirPods. This is whatever. It's going to be okay. It's a lot of grace for yourself.
Yeah. I always like to think to myself, I always remind myself, and I'm not perfect at this by any stretch of the imagination, is how do I want to live my life? Because I always think, and this might sound very cliche, but when you go through what we've gone through, I try not to take any day for granted. Uh, but obviously days go by. You get busy and you get into your regular, like nothing has ever happened kind of thing. Like, and sometimes there are days where you just don't ever think about the past, and that's fine and whatever.
Yeah.
But I do, when I get that anxious, I think to myself, is this how I want to live my life? Like, I don't want days where I'm like super anxious. I don't enjoy it. I don't feel good. I just don't want, that's not how I want to live my life. Like, I just don't want to be constantly anxious about things. So the more those things happen and the more I can train myself to just let it go, I feel like I'm being more true to how I want to live my life, or living my best life. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. How much time do we have on this show? It's only supposed to be like 30.
Oh, we're over time.
Oh,
It's usually 30 minutes, but we had a minute here, a minute there.
We need to do this regularly, at least once a month.
Oh, we're going to do it again. Yeah. I've got some more ideas. On a project we worked on a few years ago, I think we could start talking about it.
Okay.
Don't tell. Don't say anything, because I want to keep everybody hanging. But
yeah,
as we were talking, I'm like, we just could segue right into that, that project and start talking about it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah.
You tell me when. I'm here.
That's our secret talk, y'all. You have to tolerate us. So, but that's I think that's a great way to kind of end today, is that, don't live your life in a upset. Think about it and decide that day that it's like, that's not the way I want to live my life. Even if you recognize that you got stressed and worried and everything. Recognition makes a difference.
Yes.
Making a different path or choice then makes a greater difference. And that's how you keep going.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. Kathy, you're the best. And, you attract people to come to the show. So that's awesome, my friend. And I guess this is how we have to visit one another, is on live stream.
4 or 5 hours away from each other. Come on, man.
They won't be able to handle us together in the same room, but it will be okay.
We will make that happen this summer for sure.
Yes.
But I don't know, it's
Yes,
hotter there than it is here, so I might have to wait.
Yeah, I think I'll have to come your way.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Have a wonderful day, my friend. I love you much, and we'll talk our dates again. So everybody that showed up and participated with us, we appreciate you. Yolanda, Sherry had to bounce, Tina, Shauna, and there's it doesn't show us everybody most of the time, but anyways, and for those of you that later rewatch this, we appreciate it. So have a great day.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. All right. Bye.